Oh, hello. This is Caroline Bergvall, and I'm calling in with the poets for London and the UK. I'm sending blessings and thanks to all the voices we've heard and all the voices to come, and to Geza for managing this mammoth task, and the team in the background that's holding it all together, and the many people that have taken part. We're following the song today as an act of collective celebration, shared witnessing, and resistance in support of Palestine against the unspeakable violence still taking place there from the Israeli government and its military forces despite the recent ceasefire. Calling in from London and the UK, we're also calling in for resistance to the silencing of peaceful protest, the silencing of dissent that is taking place. Civilians of all ages are being imprisoned simply for exercising our right to speech, our right to stand up. Peaceful dissent through art and poetry and criticism are being silenced and blocked, simply for wanting a better world. It is important to resist. We speak as poets today, use the languages of poetry as one that always goes, crosses the borders and times. It's a language in itself of resistance, of commitment against silence, against silencing, against standardized ways of speaking, of thinking, of being. I want to share today the closing words of the Pakistani poet Faiz Ahmed Faiz poem, translated into English as Speak. Here are the two closing lines. Speak, because the truth is not dead yet. Speak, speak, whatever you must, speak. And I also wanted to share a little post-it notes that I photographed around 2018 when the poet Etal Adnan had a show at the Serpentine. Beautiful note that I've had on my wall actually for the last 5 years. I thought it very appropriate to literally read from it today, bring her voice back among us. The world needs togetherness, not separation. Love, not suspicion. A common future, not isolation. And I now want to pass on to my co-host, Kat Chong. They are a poet, publisher, and essayist. They're co-founder of the Crested Tit Collective, the digital editor of Osmosis Press, and editor at Pamanal Press. They're going to say a few words on behalf of Pamanal, and they will also introduce the wonderful poets we have coming in from where we are here in London, UK.
Thank you, Caroline. To introduce Pamanal Press, we're an independent, cross-cultural and multilingual and experimental publisher founded in September 2019 by Ghazal Mossadegh, based in the UK, Canada, and Iran. It is a delight to share this segment with Outspoken and the Centre for Modern Poetry and Translation. My name is Kat Chong, and I'm an editorial assistant with Pamanal Press. As their representative here tonight, I want to express our solidarity with the people of Palestine. It is an honor to be able to create this event, and it is our duty as poets and publishers based in the Imperial Court to stand with oppressed peoples globally, to align as publishers and poets with people committed to our collective liberation. None of us are free until all of us are free. And as a press, we're committed to seeing a free Palestine in our lifetime. I'm now going to be introducing our readers for this evening, beginning with Rebecca McCutcheon, who is a poet and educator living on the Essex coast. Her debut collection, Down, was published by Outspoken Press, followed by Joseph Minden, who is a poet and school teacher. His first collection, Poppy, was a poetry book of the year in the Daily Telegraph and History Today, recommended by the LRB Bookshop and highly commended in the Forward Prizes. His second collection, Answerlands, was published this year. Helen Kwa is a British poet and doctor of Guyanese and Malaysian heritage. She's the author of the chapbook Dog Woman, which recently received the Eric Gregory Award in 2023, inspired by the work of and painter Paula Rego. She is based currently at the Notre Dame MFA program in the US. Grace Connolly Linden's creative and critical work can be found in Prototype 5, the Journal of British and Irish Innovative Poetry, and Data Bleed Zine. Her pamphlet Well was published by Veer 2. She organises collaborative writing projects as part of the Fair Organ. Welcome, Rebecca McCutcheon.
Good evening. I'm going to read two poems this evening. So the first is called Retcon. If you believe what you see on TV, dying is a reef knot, spilling when you pull the end outward. One day it's a stranger, the next it was the Sandman all along. I kneel below your fist, stroking my face, learn not to mind. I try to write destructive things. You read them out loud and they sound so ordinary. Every time you retell history, the future stays untouched. I'll look for a different boy to be successful with, pretend parts of the timeline never existed. The present is endless. The man next door didn't just die some warm weekday afternoon. He killed himself before the tumour did. There must be a reason why you're weak to yellow. Pocket your guilt for a second. It's the wrong way round anyway. The news has started forming its own plot holes. The final problem turns up alive in an empty house. If we can endure sieges and suns, perhaps you could listen more. It's not enough just to know. There has to be an impact. Resurrection becomes a dirty habit. In Dallas, it's dream season again. And then my second poem is called Some Have Greatness. Great Yarmouth cracks its jaw, yawns at the dead season where late roads draw silent and black. Two bears stand guard in the sky, painted gold. Great. They were news when they were taken down and later rescued. Then the trail runs cold. This happened the year they were missing. Look up what makes animals great, and you'll find no answers, just white sharks and plains rat snakes. As for places, territory has to be defined. There are only 8 species of bear alive today. None of them are great, just spectacled, sun or polar. You can double your life expectancy in captivity, but you'll have to decide if it's worth it. Nearly all bears are able to swim. They don't all get the chance to prove they can get back out again. A wind farm lies offshore. How much sea do you need to witness for it to count when almost half of all people who die by drowning had no intention of entering the water? Thank you, everyone. Peace and love. And I'm going to pass on to Joseph Minden.
Hi, I'm going to read a poem of Ala Al-Qaisi's called In Praise of What Is No Longer Ours, which I heard Mira Matar read last month in London, and is a response to a poem by Mahmoud Darwish. And then I'm going to read a very brief poem of mine called Juturna. In Praise of What Is No Longer Ours. It is not for me to be or not to be. It is not for me to create or not to create. That choice was taken before I was given a name. Before the sky carved its judgment into our homes, before the sea forgot its promise. That choice was never mine. What do I want? A homeland? What good has a homeland done for those who have never known its embrace? Have the borders of a map ever shielded a child from the hunger of an endless war? What do I want? A passport? Would a passport stop the earth from swallowing us whole? Would it make the rubble speak the names of those buried beneath it? What do I want? Not a flag. For I've seen flags draped over the bodies of the young, wrapped around them like shrouds. They do not bring the dead back to life. They do not turn the dust into a home. What do I want? Not a newspaper. For I've seen my story printed in the margins of history, erased before it could be written, translated into silence. What do I want? Not police, for the law here is the sound of approaching drones, and the judge is the one who holds the rifle. So leave, but leave to where? The roads are closed, the sea is locked, the sky is a border drawn in fire. You say, leave to yourself, but where is the self when the pieces have been scattered? A body in the north, a father in the south, a home in the past. What is left of me when even my shadow has been burned into the walls? You walked exile like a river, but here exile is the stillness of a land that has forgotten its own name. You were the master of departure, but we are the prisoners of waiting. You carried the homeland on your back, but here the homeland is the weight that crushes us beneath it. How vast is the wound? How narrow the breath? How small the grave? How endless the war? I do not write this in praise. I write this because I am still here. Because I am still here. Because I am still here. And that, Mahmoud, is the only victory I can claim. To Turner. As the eyelid lifts, the eye inverts, and what is found there is the exit wound. His back packed with raw dirt. Bows clatter on the plinth. A head touches the stars. Grief, its mouth like sacked shoulders, rivers forever. I'm going to hand it on to Helen now.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and to the hosts, Pamela Press and MPT and Outspoken. Yeah, it's deeply moving to be amongst all these poets across the world today. I'm going to first read a poem by Gayath Al-Madoun from his collection I've Brought You a Severed Hand. This is a prose poem called My Hand That Left and Did Not Return. I am a free man from an unfree country. I write love poems in the form of nightmares and distribute them for free to slaughtered people, born to slaughtered mothers. My hand, which I won in peacetime, I lost in war, and that's why I can't hold you tight. I lost it in war, but I sometimes see it in a dream, patting martyrs on the shoulder. So I cry like a man while God smiles in the group photo. And sometimes I feel cold, so I search for it, so I can put it in my coat pocket, but I can't find it. I'm a free man from an occupied country. My hand, which was eaten by the wolf, is the only part of me that has not met you. And that's why we always feel there's a little thing missing between us. I am a free man from a country that dreams of freedom. My hand that left and didn't return. I often try to hold you without it, and that's why I seem as if I only half love you. But I want you always to remember that when I hold you with one hand, my love, I'm just giving you more freedom for the day when you decide to leave. And then I'll read the second poem by Al-Madoun called Poet in Berlin. These are both translated by Catherine Cobham, I should say. Poet in Berlin. All the metaphors in this poem are based on a true story that has not happened before. A lonely man with green eyes and a blue gaze, searching for a woman carrying a forest, who went into the sea and did not return. Lonely as a bench in a public park. Most of those who have touched this wound think he is a poet from Berlin, but he is in fact a poet in Berlin. He resembles a park bench, and therefore he's used to swear to passers-by that a woman he loved took him to the sea and brought him back thirsty. And in another account, in a poem they found in a pocket of his blue shirt, he said she brought him back from the sea thirsty, but she did not return. On the other hand, the Poetry Foundation in Chicago has not been able to verify the truth of the information contained in this poem. A lonely man in a city crowded with lonely people, he assured the German police that he took full responsibility for the disappearance of a woman as ripe as a peach tree. The detective asked him to stop using metaphor because the investigation report was not a postmodern poem, and in any case, the sea could not possibly be a crime scene in this city. Forever in David Bowie's most defiant songs, there was no sea in Berlin. Then he added as calmly as an abandoned house, I cannot bring any charges against you at the present time, for as of the date of the writing of this poem, no official reports have been submitted about the disappearance of a woman who looks like the sunset, walks like a herd of gazelles, and loves summer and children. Furthermore, according to German law, there is no crime if there is no body. A lonely man with green eyes and a blue gaze went into the sea to look for a woman. He went into the sea and did not return, and he did not return. Thank you. I'll pass over to the next reader, Grace Connolly Linden.
Thanks, everyone. It's been really wonderful to listen to everyone's readings. I'm going to start by reading a quote from a statement written by Daniel Berrigan for the trial of the Catonsville Nine, who in 1968 burned draft documents in protest against the Vietnam War. And then I'm going to read a sequence of poems that short poems that I wrote. Some 10 or 12 of us, the number is still uncertain, will, if all goes well, brackets ill, take our religious bodies during this week to a draft centre in or near Baltimore. There we shall, of purpose and forethought, remove the 1A files, sprinkle them in the public street with homemade napalm and set them at fire. For which act we shall, beyond doubt, be placed behind bars for some portion of our natural lives. In consequence of our inability to live and die content in the plagued city, to say peace, peace, when there is no peace, to keep the poor, poor, the homeless, thirsty and hungry, homeless, thirsty and hungry. Our apologies, good friends, for the fracture of good order, the burning of paper instead of children, the angering of the orderlies in the front parlour of the charnel house. We could not, so help us God, do otherwise. And now a sequence of poems. I have tended to forget like a garden. Grant me some constraints, 4 walls perhaps. There would be an awning or the shade of one. Everything after would be softer. Oh, little milk in the bathwater, listen, for what can I give you except the leaves among the leaves? The sound returning emptied, of the worms gathering to turn the earth over. Whistle and I'll come soon, come soon. Today I gathered all red flowers from Hyde Park Corner all the way down the Vauxhall Bridge Road. There were tears in everything. The stream rose above its source, or seemed to, blinking, holding out its hands, palms up, and another song was heard, like the voice of a multitude breaking out into melodic laments for the people who could not be brought back to that place. And I thought of the world which you would be, were you there making it, and made mostly of dust and broken light. Oh, little grip, I embraced the knees of the image and begged it give you back to me. Even among the glass offices the song still redly rose, and I scratched the whole earth over, though not to engrave you, as you only slept. The merciless articulate advise constantly of what they intend to do. They are artistic, their mouths are full, it never rains in them, but over a series of miniature war zones they gesture widely. But you, I think they could not make you work, not even by paying. And oh so welcome, small telling, tongue in the morning bell, you curdle the early air. We listen for you, on staircases less beautiful, or behind the dry brick houses, in the white tile tunnels, or kneeling on the office carpet, and we run through the shopping quarter as the glass begins to fall, and falls like water. And I think I'm handing back to Caroline and to Kat.
Hi. I'm going to be closing out this section with an extract from a poem called When Health Becomes Available. And like anyone who suffers, we looked everywhere. Inside this aged place of our demolished hands, the hardest part of health is how to begin. From where we are amongst the core of things, its silence, its Anglo-imperial centrality and unfinished history, we, cloud recorders, corner shops, the medico-legal overtaken, its biologic and doom-scroll breath rope along which resources behave, in which death drops and police time passes in mouthfuls. In this case, the city centre, where all my teeth cease to belong, is language in its undisclosed system, a narrow path that leads me here. To speak of the elect requires these heavy terms for our collective experience of extractive abandonment, means tested against a fairness of well-being, a political economy of financial determinants, productive machinations, and work. For health, disable this state with me, the endless acquisition of capital with me, the indefinite assault of deliberate austerity with me. For health, say no one marked out as surplus. As the ghost of a season keeps daylight from passing over pixels of the sky, the stars are indivisible and impecunious. Inside carnivorous spaces, we were overdetermined, we were already dead or recuperated into profit, but what could we be untethered from all this money, surveillance, and the state? Look out for us. Look behind the alphabet, its letters underneath the field of blood where we were running while time was coming out, when we kept dancing like it wasn't. In the crepuscular realm where health looked less like labor and a living wage and felt a lot more like light. There is no specific designation, not for the first question or the second, but to arise inside new ways of dissolving is a matter of living. Gradually, one day we will, as Rilke once wrote, live our way into the answer. And because all sorrows jacket my teeth, we understand how things are declining, pitch our carcass like a circus tent for the medical industrial complex, for the replacement of the curative politic inside me, say no justice, no peace. For health, say free Palestine, Congo, Armenia, West Papua, Sudan, Ukraine. For health, say land back and no more prisons from the river to the sea. For health, speak the dissolution of the border, a cessation of violence's gleeful extension by the state. For health, say the weaponization of peace means the comfort of those in structural positions of power. For healthcare, say abolish the death penalty. For health, say where did they hurt you? Say 1312, decriminalize sex work for each instance in which the city is transposed into a public viewing gallery for the display of police realism. Say health, say disability justice, say trans rights, say solidarity amongst the oppressed, the gods of the undersoil, the possibility of truth on a mouth which opens the street for our collective liberation. For health, say we cannot be comfortable as long as structurally oppressed peoples are slowly dying. And even this is not a coincidence. Plosive, ablative, appropriatively baffling, we home horizons of the epic uticular and tap dance to the weather map. I want you in the pronoun, said John Ashbery, or something like that. But by then the clouds had descended into the fountain of my mind, outside the realm of phenomena, or as Blanchot said, on nights overburdened by the sun, accomplishing a break with the star heart of the universe through the violence which operates in our bruised spaces, departs us from the cosmic order of the world, vaporizes rapture. We are displaced from language without fault, referencing points which had been lost to us so far in advance. And I don't want to join them. I don't want to join any of them. It's enough some days. It's enough to know the heart of someone I love is still nearby, beating. In solidarity with these extinguished apostles through vastly different worlds, pick a star, we'll both say goodbye, in pain maliciously dreaming with an eye that is nobody but us, iridescent and opening, until insurrection issues from the ruined words, and dissent is an audible rising from the rubble. Provocations of another fantasy for health that passes through this sentence, what it can contain only by bursting, to traverse every single silence still at hand. Thank you. I'm now going to pass back to Caroline Bergvall.
I'm going to be closing the segment from London and UK with a short excerpt from a piece, a trilingual piece called Crop. Some never had a body to call their own before it was taken away. Som aldrig var fri till att se sin kropp för den blev revet bort. Ceux dont le corps d'emblée leur est arraché. Some never had a chance to feel a body as their own before it was taken away. Som aldrig fick uppleva en kropp som sin egen för den blev revet bort. Ceux dont le corps d'emblée leur est arraché. Some never had a chance to know their body before it was taken away. Som aldrig fick känna sin kropp för den blev revet bort. Ceux dont le corps méconnu est arraché. Some were never free to speak their body before it was taken up and taken away. Som var aldrig fri till att se sin kropp för den blev löftet upp och revet bort. Ceux dont le corps est arraché. Some hoped they had one safely, only to find it had to be left across the border, och parts of it som hoppet till tryggt hade en kropp, bara för att inse att den måtte bli en över gränsen eller del av den. Ceux dont le corps à la frontière nié n'est pas des leurs. Some could neither take it with them nor leave it behind. Some kunde varken ta den med sig eller lägga den igen, s'y prendre, s'y laisser. Some bodies are forgotten in the language compounds. Some bodies, like languages, simply disappear. Någon kropp liksom språk blir simpelthen borta, disparaissent comme les langues. Some or many are being disappeared. Någon eller många blivit borta, ont été disparus. Någon och många disappear. Någon och många blir borta, sont nombreux, disparaître. Some or many that disappeared arise in some or many of us. Någon eller många som blev borta reiser sig. Någon eller många av oss disparaissent, se lèvent en certains de nous. Some arise in some or many of us. Någon reiser sig. Någon eller många av oss se lèvent en nombre de nous. Some that arise in some of us arise in many of us. Någon som reiser sig. Någon av oss reiser sig. I många av oss qui se levant en nous se relèvent en nombre de nous. Some that arise in some of us arrive in each of us. Någon som reiser sig i någon av oss kommer fram. I hver av oss qui se levant en nous se relève de chacun de nous. Thanks all and blessing. This concludes the London UK segment.